The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk, now in its 17th year, one of the city's longest running TV talk shows. We have a special holiday show tonight, and so we're not taking phone calls. You can always email comments to us at bronxtalk@hotmail.com, and we'll read those on the air during a future edition of our program. Well, tonight's guest, or guests, is a citizen of the world, more to the point, a musician of the world. He's lived on 3 continents, but calls the Bronx his home. An eclectic singer-songwriter, he appears on the Grammy-nominated Healthy Food for Thought Good Enough to Eat CD, which is this one. He's worked with artists as well-known and diverse as Pete Seeger and Les Paul, Annie Haslam of Renaissance, Roger McGuinn, and Roseanne Cash. In a flagging music industry, his latest CD, this one, Reverie, was produced largely with fan support. It's our pleasure to welcome back to Bronx Talk, Jan Close. Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Gary.
Nice to have you back on the program. Let's start, and we're going to listen to music all night, but let's start by talking about healthy food for thought, good enough to eat. What is this?
It's a compilation CD that I have a song on, and it's a very diverse CD. There's a lot of different artists. It's artist poetry. There's Julian Lenn is on it. Moby is on it. Tom Chapin is on it. It raises money for the New York Coalition for Healthy School Food. Mm-hmm. So it's a great cause that I deeply believe in, and it was just nominated for a Grammy. So.
Were you invited to be on it? Did you say, hey, you know what, I love the cause, I'd like to be on it? How did that come about?
I had worked with Kevin Mackey, who was one of the executive producers of it before, on a different compilation CD called Serenity House. And when this project came up, he asked me if I wanted to contribute a song, and I said, of course.
Is it, we're going to talk more about this kind of thing, but, you know, for I don't want to even say struggling singer-songwriter, but for a singer-songwriter who may not be like Lady Gaga or somebody like that, is it
I'm missing the hair for that, first of all.
Oh, I think he could do very, very well. But is it difficult to get yourself recognized so you can be on something like this? In other words, what's that process?
It's very much like anything else. You know, you have to work very hard. You eventually meet people. You eventually meet the right people, I think. You have to get yourself out there. You can't just sit at home. You know, we tour. Chris and I tour a lot. We play close to 100 shows a year, you know, here in the U.S. and in Europe. So, you know, we really started from just playing local shows and playing a few shows here and there, and then it just started playing more and more.
We should introduce Chris Moralf, bass player for this evening. So the first song that we're going to be hearing is from this CD. It's also on your CD, but we're going to start with this one. Right. What is it called?
It's called Given to This Life.
Okay, and it is on the Grammy-nominated Healthy Food for Thought Good Enough to Eat CD. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan Close.
This road, but I'm growing tired. I've waited too long. I push away the obstacles. I keep my head high, try to keep my head high. Somehow I found my way here. I've given a lot, but taken much more. It's hard to stop. I can't seem to find a way to look around me. I
I want to look around me. Give into this life. Give unto this life. Give into this life. Give unto this life. I try to match, to emulate the world that turns around me, be the life of the party. What used to be so shiny and sharp has turned a blunt, empty shell. Give into this life. Give unto this life. Give into this life. Give unto this life. I gave you more than anyone in this life, and I gave you more than anything in this life, and I gave you this life more than anyone in this life, and I gave you. Life, give unto this life.
All right, very nice. Jan Close and Chris Maroff, of course. Are you one of those songwriters that agonizes over every song and you say, you know, and it's like pulling teeth? Or do you close the door and say, well, now I'm going to write a song and it just starts to flow? What's the process like for you?
It depends. You know, some songs come pretty easy and some others you have to spend a lot more time on. Mm-hmm. It really depends on the song, you know. I mean, I'm not a writer that you know, writes because I have to. I write because I want to, mm-hmm. which means I write probably less, but I enjoy it. I enjoy songwriting.
Could you write on demand? Like, in other words, they said, "Hey, we have a compilation CD, or we have like that CD," and you could.
I've done it before. I mean,
so it's not agonizing.
Not always.
Fair enough. Maybe I should really be asking Chris those questions.
Chris knows. We spend a lot of time in the car together.
Let's go back and talk a little bit about what I was talking about with the music business. And for us old folks, changing music business means, of course, and we're now talking 80s and 90s technology, but you do need to have a music video in order to really do well. And you've done that. And the music video that you have that I've seen is unbelievable, really, and we're going to give people a chance to show it. Let's talk about the music video and the creation of it.
Well, it's for our song "Doing Time," which we did with the we did the music video with the New York Film Academy, and with students from the New York Film Academy, and the director's name is Addison Neville. He's a really talented guy, and he had the idea to use stop motion. And that's what we went with, and we filmed in 3 different locations in Manhattan, and shot about 9,000 photos, and 4,000 of them made it into the video.
I like the way you just say that so easily. We shot 9,000 photos.
It was two and a half very long, very cold days in February of this year. So it was cold and long, but it turned out great.
And I have to agree that it turned out great. So we're going to take a look, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look. Give us the title of the song and the music video.
Sure, it's Doing Time.
Doing Time. We're going to do time on Bronx Talk and watch Jan Klose's music video.
I walk the line, the arms of time, change the day, turn the hour. I'm in a maze, nobody here, no memory left, disappear. I look for the days I remember, a heavenly piece of my mind. But I can't walk where I can't see, I won't pretend this isn't me. It feels like I'm just doing time. Feels like I'm just doing time. Give me the day, give me the air, get me out of here. I want my eyes to see the world anew again. I wanna find my way to you, not feel like I'm running away. I walk the line, the arms of time, change the day, turn the hour. I'm in a maze, nobody here, no memory left, disappear. I don't want to be like the caveman, scratching the dirt off my feet. But I can't walk where I can't see, I hate to say that this is me. It feels like I'm just doing time. Feels like I'm just doing time. Give me the day, give me the air, get me out of here. I want my eyes to see the world like a child again. I wanna find my way to you, not feel like I'm so alone. Give me the day, so alone. I walk the line, the arms of time, change the day, turn the hour.
All right, there it is. That is Jan Klose. Now, that's your first and only music video to this point?
Yeah, it is.
Do you enjoy, obviously you're into it because of the music. Do you enjoy, doing things like expanding the notion of what music is into video? Or is it, well, I got to do it, so I do it?
Definitely. Playing the songs and working with the songs and creating is the best part. No question. Yeah, it's definitely the best part.
So it wouldn't matter what form it is, as long as or what media it is, as long as you're using the vehicle of music to communicate.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now this is the CD. There it is, Reverie, which is the brand new one. I noticed.
It looks like
I noticed right away that this reminded me of the John Lennon Imagine back cover.
I've heard that before.
I'm one of the only ones who've noted.
No. Actually, when we first did it, my publicist Ann Layton, who's actually here tonight, she said the same thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was not intentional. This is just how it turned out.
Yeah, I mean it was a sideways shot, and we turned it on. Or it was a profile shot, and we turned it on the side. And when you open it up, it becomes a exactly.
Let's talk about music that's on this. That is it different from music that you've done in the past? More of the same. In other words, how do you view what's on this package?
Well, not more of the same. That doesn't sound good, does it? No. So it's
well, it can be. The other was very, very good.
Thank you. Yeah, stylistically, it's similar instrumentation. There's a lot more arranging on this record. There's a lot more musicians on it. There's a more eclectic mix of instruments on it. There's accordion, there's oboe, there's strings, there are horns. I probably need to get closer to the mic here. It's more eclectic.
I'm always interested in the creative process, which I asked you about before. Do you sit down and say, now I'll make a CD, so let me write 12 songs, or it's just like, I've been writing all along, and now I have enough, so we'll call it a CD?
Well,
the latter?
Yeah, I always write. I try to write as much as I can and as much as it's possible. And eventually you get to the point where you feel like, okay, there's a body of work that I can put together, and release.
Let's chat with Chris just for a moment. In terms of working with Jan, does he say, here's a song, and then you get to have input, or does he say, this is it, learn the part?
This is my chance.
But really, the creative process to me is always fascinating, because I think it's what people really want to understand, how we get from nothing to beautiful music.
Yeah, I mean, Jan definitely comes in with, a fully formed song. But I think, more, we've been playing together like 9 years now. And I think more, and the whole band in its current incarnation has been together about 6 years. So I think there's definitely that sound of our personal, idiosyncrasies that he has in mind in his ear as he's writing those songs. So we all come together and kind of add our own parts and our own flavor to it. But, that family of the band is, I think, part of his color palette now,
Hard to keep a band together, hard to keep people on the same page?
Oh, yeah.
We hear about rock stars fighting all the time and all those
Hey, it depends on the music. If the music's good, people stick around for a while. So.
All right, and the music on this is very good. One other thing which I want to get back to Jan about is the idea of it being, and I kind of mentioned that, self-funded, fan-supported. Let's talk about that whole notion in the music business. What's it like today to get a record deal? Is it like what it used to be? Is it different from what it used to be? And what is the process that we got to get this?
It's very different than it used to be. I mean, the old model of the record industry is practically dead. And I kind of started in the industry, about 10 years ago or so, when it was starting to implode and just was going down the drain, just because the internet and various other factors, but mainly the internet. So, I mean, what I'm doing and what a lot of other independent artists are doing is bypassing labels and raising money for a record from the fans directly. It's called crowdfunding, generally. It's referred to as crowdfunding. And we did it with Reverie, and we're doing it with the next one as well. I mean, there are people on the industry side that are involved, but this is a way to really have complete creative control as well, so it's really, I'm going to be making kind of record that I want to make rather than that someone else wants me to make.
I guess it is that double-edged sword. Gee, it would be nice to have a company or a record company or a music company, now they're not records anymore, a music company supporting you and funding it. On the other hand, you could fight with them forever, and then all of a sudden they own you and they own the creative process.
Yeah, I barely had that experience. I mean, when I started out, I was assigned to an independent label in Cleveland, Ohio, where I was in school at the time. And, that was my only real record deal. Everything else after that, I just basically did on my own. And I've been doing it like that. And it's worked.
You mentioned the internet, and a number of musicians that I've talked to over the years talk about the changing nature. And I was talking about, creating an album or a CD. Right. Technically, if you had one or two songs, you could still find a place to put it up there. Have you thought about getting out of this CD format and saying, well, I got 2 or 3 songs, I can pop them on iTunes or sell them on Amazon? I mean, is that a path to go?
We did that this year. We released a 2-song EP called Sacrifice. And it just had 2 songs on it. It's just digital. you can download it on iTunes and on Amazon, and you don't have to buy a CD.
And I guess as challenging as this new world is, because it's taken us all out of this format, it does provide those kinds of opportunities to do something different.
It does. I mean, you have to be very creative with it, and it helps to know technology a little bit and understand how the internet works, and we can always do better at that too. So it constantly changes. You always have to stay on top of it.
Mm-hmm. And again, it goes back to, in part, what I was saying about, in order to survive as a musician, maybe in the past you could just be a musician and somebody would handle everything, but now you've got to do the video, you have to know how the internet works, you have to have a sense, because that does get into the creative process. Having a hit doesn't necessarily mean that you have a #1 on the Billboard charts. It doesn't work that way. It's social media and how much people talk about you. It's YouTube hits. It is sales. It's how much you tour. It's how your ticket sales are doing. It's a whole mesh of stuff. Much different than it was, and that is, for example, you talked about social media. A bunch of friends, and I know Ann Layton has a very active Facebook interaction.
And Ann Layton's also on the Healthy Food for Thought CD, I should say, as a poet. Yeah.
I put the CD down. I'll have to bring it back. Yeah. Let's do this. Let's celebrate the holiday. We'll play some holiday music, and then when we come back, I want to talk also about going to the Grammys and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So what are we going to do? Happy Christmas?
We're going to do a Happy Christmas John Lennon tune.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of John Lennon. All right, John, close.
Christmas, what have you done? Another year over, new one just begun. So this is Christmas, I hope you have fun. Near and the dear one, old and the young, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one without any fear. So this is Christmas, for weak and for strong, for rich and for poor ones. The world is so wrong, and so happy Christmas for black and for white, for yellow and red ones. Let's stop all the fight. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one without any fear. War is over if you want it. War is over now. War is over if you want it. War is over now. War is over if you want it. War is over now.
We've referenced John Lennon a couple of times, but let's talk about influences. It's so easy to say. Of course, we've all been influenced by John Lennon and the Beatles. What other artists do you consider influences, and is it only artists from the past, or are there contemporary artists that you say, you know what, even to this day, there's somebody new who I
Oh yeah, there's a lot of. Oops, no, I just knocked this mic off here. Yeah, there's a lot of. Let me just fix this here.
Okay.
There's a lot of new people that I like. There's the Shins. It's a band that I'm really into. You know, a lot of people that I run into on the road. Michaela Kingslide band from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Boy, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm a big Prince fan. I've always been a big Prince fan.
You know, I introduced the show by talking about your kind of international, quote-unquote, roots, and you've really traveled the country. Does that influence what you do? And do you actively go places and say, ooh, I'll look for new musical influences? Or do you just kind of go and kind of naturally it takes hold?
Well, I'm naturally curious, so I look for stuff. You know, I try to find music that's different. You know, I don't want to hear the same stuff again. I want to hear something new. So, yeah, I'm definitely curious.
So now just back to this CD, this Healthy Food for Thought, Good Enough to Eat, and you talked about the issue of young people eating good and healthy food, which of course is somewhat undeniable. But it's giving you the opportunity. You're going to be going to the Grammys?
I am. Yeah, I just got the ticket today.
That's pretty. Now, where is it being held?
In L.A. I don't know where, but you know.
But you'll be there.
I'll find out. I'll find out. Someone will let me know.
Pretty darn excited to do that, undoubtedly.
Yeah. It'll be fun, you know. It'll be nice to get out in New York in February, too.
I'll bet it will be. There's a look at it.
Yeah.
So, Jan, there's going to be a performance, I understand, in the Bronx? People in the Bronx will get to see you?
Yes. We have a show coming up in the Bronx on February 12th at Anbeel Bocht.
Which is over there in Riverdale, which is a lovely little place.
Which is great, and I've never been there. And you know, I used to live around the corner. I'd never went to it, and it's a great place.
And there'll also be a fundraiser for this, right?
Yes, there's a fundraiser and CD release party January 28th at Peter Mac Studios in New York City.
To find all the information, there's a website. That's the new world. They're going to put the website.
Sure. My website's jankloos.com, JANNKLOSE.com.
Okay. Jan Kloos, thank you so much for joining us and performing for us. And Chris, thanks for bringing him along. We really appreciate it. Folks, if you have further comments or questions on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, then email them to us at bronxtalk@hotmail.com, and we'll read those on the air during a future edition of our program. Archives of Bronx Talk are available at bronxnet.org, and you simply look on the right-hand column toward the bottom. You'll see the Bronx Talk link. You click that, and you can see our archives. Next Monday night, our guest will be Councilmember Fernando Ferreira. See that? Fernando Cabrera. We'll get that right. Thanks to producer Jane Folloro, director Michael Arias, and Leighton deserves thanks as well, and our cast of thousands who helped put this together. So one last time, Jan Kloos and Chris Morolf, good night.
Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht, alles schläft, einsam wacht, nur das traute, hochheilige Paar, holder Knabe im lockigen Haar, Schlaf in himmlischer Ruhe, Schlaf in himmlischer Ruhe. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon Virgin Mother and Child, holy infant, so tender.